Hello, Aaron.
Hello.
Welcome to Block 22.
Thany you for having me here.
We are happy to have you here.
Yes, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we know today's interaction will be an exciting one.
Yes.
To begin, please tell us what your profession is.
So I am a clinical dietitian, registered under the Ghana Dietetic Association and also the Allied Health Professions Council. Yes.
Oh, okay. A dietitian. What is a dietitian? What do you do as a dietitian?
So basically, dietitians also assess and diagnose, just like medical officers, but we do that concerning dietary conditions or nutritional conditions, and we plan nutritional interventions for them as well. We also aid in promoting nutritional health, good nutritional health, and also promote good eating habits in individual and communities as well.
Oh, okay. We hear of dietitians, we hear of nutritionists. What's the difference between the two?
Yes, nutritionists and dietitians basically do the same thing. We have the same roots, that is the nutrition backenders. But for dietitians, we go more into the clinical aspects where we work with sick patients as well, those in the ICU, those who have medical conditions. But nutritionists focus more on public educations and preventive health care. But we use medical nutrition therapy to manage conditions and as well as promote good eating habits as well.
Oh, okay. Now, we'll be going more into your field.
Okay.
Please tell us, from your experience, I mean, you've been interacting with a lot of patients. Do you think that generally we are eating well?
Eating well is subjective.
Okay.
Actually, when we say eating well, what comes into your mind first is a balanced diet. Mm-hmm. You can have your normal, have your good amount of carbohydrate, good amount of protein, good amount of healthy fats. But the problem with our setting is that we ignore the minerals and vitamins which are also essential for our body activities. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll just put it a 5 to 6.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Then it means we need to work.
Yes, we need to work on getting more of our vitamins and minerals and also healthy fats, proteins and carbohydrates in our foods.
Oh, okay. So how common is malnutrition?
So when we say malnutrition is not one-sided. Malnutrition is dual ways, whether overnutrition or undernutrition, where you can say somebody is underweight or the person is overweight or obese.
Okay. Sometimes when we hear of malnutrition, our minds go straight to only children. Okay. Can adults also be malnourished?
Yes, like I said earlier, overweight or overnutrition is also a form of malnutrition. Okay. And looking at our settings, now there are higher cases of overweight and obesities, considering the food we eat of late, high saturated fatty foods and all those things. So malnutrition is on the rise.
It's interesting from what you're telling us, because often when we hear malnutrition, where our minds go straight is people who are underweight. We don't even think of people who are overweight as people who are malnourished. Now since you talked about weight, let's talk about weight gain and then weight loss. Now, if someone is underweight,
okay,
is there something that a person should do, or should a person work on putting on some weight, or if someone is underweight, is just fine?
Being underweight could be a symptom of an underlying medical condition. You understand? And being underweight itself is a condition, it's a nutritional condition. So when somebody is underweight, it is very essential for them to put on healthy weight to be able to be deemed normal nutritionally. Else, being underweight makes you susceptible to a lot of diseases. Your immune system is compromised and all that. So there is a need to put on some weight to be able to match up your height.
So how do we put on such weight? What is the healthy way of putting on some weight?
So the healthiest way to put on some weight is muscle building, strength training, and being in a caloric surplus to help you. Because when you focus on eating unhealthy foods, you put on fat weight, which is not very healthy in the long term. But when you put on muscle weight, it is very healthy in the long term.
And I think I need to hit the gym.
Yes, basically.
We spoke about putting on weight. What about losing weight? Now we see most of us are just gaining some fat.
Yeah.
And if you want to lose weight, what is the best way to do that?
So just like the other way around for caloric surplus, you have to be in a caloric deficit, and you also have to increase your physical activity. Mostly, one of the reasons why we are overweight or obese is the physical inactivity and the caloric surplus. So when you're able to cut down on your caloric intake to match your metabolic rates and also increase your physical activity to a certain level, then I think you will lose weight in your desired way.
We can't talk about weight loss and then leave pot bellies.
Exactly.
It has become so common.
Yes.
In your own expert opinion, what do you think is causing that condition? People having pot belly.
So in our local setting, we say pot belly is a sign of good living or wealth, which is basically false. Pot belly is an accumulation of visceral fat or healthy fats within our abdominal region for a long period of time. And this is one of the main reasons why people end up having insulin resistance that can cause diabetes. So pot belly or excess visceral fat is not healthy, or it's not good living or wealth like you think.
Oh, okay. So if I want to, if I have pot belly and I want it to go, I want to lose that belly fat, what do I have to do?
So there is a bad news for you because we can't spot reduce fat. You can't choose where you lose fat from. Okay. You need to lose overall body fat. You need to bring down your overall total body fat before you can see changes or reduction in the size of your belly. And this entails the caloric deficit that I talked about, the strength training, the muscle training, which can help you.
I was thinking that I could lose the belly fat and then leave the ones on my cheeks. All right. Now let's shift small from weight gain and then weight loss and then talk about eating habits and other things. Sometimes we hear that our blood groups should determine what we should eat. Is that true?
So within the early 90s, there was a researcher who came up with this blood group theory, eating to suit your blood group theory. And if you look at the list of foods he stated corresponding to the different blood groups we have, they were healthy whole foods. And if an individual can eat such foods judiciously, follow that, then I think they will see changes. So that was the main reason why they were seeing changes. But that doesn't mean that you are supposed to eat in that way according to your blood group. Imagine they say blood group A shouldn't take maize. A lot of Ghanaians, being blood group A, have taken a lot of maize, banku. Why are they not falling sick and all those things? So you could see that research hasn't proved that it's something that is true, it's a fact. But there are more researches being done to ascertain the right ways of eating.
Okay, that's an eye-opener. Now, let's see different kinds of people and then how food should affect us, or what the kind of food we should eat. Let's talk about pregnant women.
Okay.
We know that babies are being formed in them, and because of that, they need to be careful on what they need to eat. So what types of food should pregnant women eat to take good care of themselves and then their babies?
So when you look at food, when food comes into your mind, balanced diet is what comes first. A balanced diet is equally important for a pregnant woman, but an increase in the amount of food, the portions they eat over time, is very beneficial, because as the child grows, the mother needs more energy to help in the formation of the child. So a balanced diet is good. supplementation of other vitamins or other minerals like the folic acid to help prevent the neural tube effect is also good. And fruits and vegetables which are rich in the minerals are very good, because when the child is being developed, the fetus is developing in the mother, the mother's mineral stores are being depleted in the formation. So if the mother is not able to replace them, then the mother can suffer from a mineral deficiency, and that is what causes a condition we call pica, which basically you see certain mothers having cravings for non-foods, things that are not foods, like soil, ayilo, or whatever they call it. So supplementation is also very important in mothers as well, pregnant women.
Oh, okay. So it means if they eat healthy, it will even prevent those cravings.
Yes.
Okay, now let's imagine the baby has been born. Let's leave those first few months, or where they have to only take the breast milk and then jump forward small. Mm-hmm. Now, when the baby starts eating, or the child starts eating, what kinds of food do they need to eat to help them develop the strength they need to become smart in future, or as they grow, and then to build resilience?
So when it comes to strength or growing up, we know the hallmark is proteins, help building tissues, building muscles, repair of tissues. Proteins are very important when a child is growing up. So for them to grow well, they need enough proteins, good and enough proteins to help them build muscle, to build strength. And also for the cognitive or for the brain function, we have foods that help the children build their memory and become smart. So the omega-3 and omega-6 in deep sea fishes, oils in deep sea fishes, are very essential for the kids to build cognitive strength. And also certain minerals like vitamins, iron and zinc also help in the brain development. So they are very important when it comes to the child being smart. So when it comes to immunity, the breast milk for the babies is the first source of immunity. It helps boost the immunity of the babies. And as the babies grow, you need to give them good proteins, you need to give them good carbohydrates, good fats to help them, and minerals to help them build immunity with time, as well as immunization. They can't fight everything. They need some, something to help them fight certain things. So the immunization is very, very important. And also, they should be physically active to help them build that immunity.
Okay. Previously, when we heard of diabetes, we thought it was only for adults. But lately, we've seen that child diabetes is also on the rise. What could be the cause of child diabetes? Could it be the eating habits or other things?
So child diabetes, or juvenile diabetes like others call it, initially we basically thought type 1 diabetes. Children only develop type 1 diabetes, but now we can see that children are also developing type 2 diabetes because of the childhood obesity, because of the inactivity, physical inactivity, and all those things, and all other factors. Genetics also playing a role in that. So the type 1 is when maybe an autoimmune response, the body fights its own healthy organs and the child can't produce insulin at all. So we call it insulin-dependent diabetes. And the type 2 is when the amount of insulin produced is not enough to support the sugars that are in the blood. So this is what happens. So now we know that children can have both type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes.
Okay. So what can be done to reduce this condition or control it?
So childhood diabetes, usually for the type 1 diabetes, we give insulin shots and you eat healthy. But for the type 2 diabetes, we have to go back to the old way of doing things. Instead of playing video games in the house for long hours, they go out and play football, which will help them be physically active, control their weight, and also help them eat in healthy ways, not focusing on sweets and other things to help them, that will make them put on weight.
Yeah. Lately, we've seen that most times when children are going to school, often they have drinks, lots of drinks in their bags, sweet things. I'm sure that when parents cut down on these things, they can help their children. And just like you mentioned, exercising and all of that. Now, we've also seen that hypertension is always on the rise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as if once you are aging, you have to face that condition. I don't know if that is how things are supposed to be, but what eating habits can help reduce hypertension?
So we have something we call a DASH diet for hypertensive, which basically means dietary approaches to stop hypertension. And when it comes to DASH, we say foods rich in whole grains, fruits and vegetables, low-fat dairy products, and low saturated fats and animal fats, which can, in a way, prevent hypertension.
Oh, okay. I'm sure when we concentrate on these things, we'll grow and not get hypertension and not suffer from hypertension. Now, how does eating habits also cause some diseases such as kidney malfunction? Today, I mean, lately we've been hearing of people with kidney problems. Initially, we thought it's people who, I mean, as we grow older, we experience those things, but now even young ones are also facing such problems. So how can eating habits help control such diseases, especially the kidney?
So, first and foremost, hydration is very important when it comes to the kidney. Any form of dehydration, whether acute or chronic or long duration of dehydration, can cause damage to the kidney, can lead to you having kidney stones. So we need to hydrate properly so that we can protect the kidneys. And also balanced diet, not eating foods high in sugars will also help protect the kidney. And also too much proteins is not good for the kidney, especially for the bodybuilders who take in high amounts of protein for long period of time. Some people for long amounts of time, 10 years, 20 years. It will be very detrimental to your kidney long term. Also, alcohol is not good for any of the organs in the body, and the kidney is no exception.
Okay, so you've already mentioned some kinds of foods that we'll eat that will help the kidney. What about the heart? What kinds of food are good for the heart?
Going back to the DASH diet, it also applies to the heart. When you take the DASH diet, when you focus on the foods rich in whole grains, the low fat dairy products, and the fruits and vegetables, unsaturated fats, it will go on and help the heart in the long term.
Okay, let's try and find out about breakfast. Some people say that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Okay.
I don't know. I believe that it depends on the person. Okay. But now let's see. Should our breakfast be light or heavy?
So when we talk about light or heavy breakfast, I think light or heavy is subjective.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, a lighter breakfast, let's say a beverage in the morning, might have a lot of calories or a lot of energy than, let's say, a heavier breakfast, an oatmeal in the morning. So depending on the individual's physical activity or work he or she does in the day, they should eat to help them get enough energy to carry them throughout the morning to lunchtime. So you can't tell an artisan to take in something very light in the morning, because for such people, they need energy to do heavy lifting or heavy work. So for such people, they can go in a bit heavy in the morning, eat something that will give them the enough energy to work. And same thing applies to an office worker who sits, or a banker who sits all day. Such a person can't take in foods that have too much calories in the morning, else they can't be able to dispense or use all of them, which will be stored as fats, and they will definitely gain weight.
Okay. That's an eye-opener. Now, what are the effects of fasting on the human body?
So fasting has both positive and negative effects. Positive in the short term can help you, but prolonged fasting can be very much of a problem to the body. When you fast for a period of time, it can help restrict, or it can help you use up excess sugar in the blood, which is very important. And also, fasting can help in reducing inflammation in the body, which is also very important. But when you fast for a long period of time, fasting is not sustainable. So when you fast for a long period of time, you become hungrier. So your next meal become heavier. You eat more on your next meal, and your body doesn't use all the energy that you take in on your next meal. It takes the rest. It takes what it needs and stores the rest as fat.
Okay.
And prolonged fasting can also have problems, can also cause cholesterol problems long term.
Oh, okay. When we talk about eating healthy, sometimes we feel that it looks as if it's so expensive. I mean, if you are going to eat balanced diets, add all the minerals you're talking about, vitamins, is going to be really expensive. What if you don't have that money? What if I'm broke? How can I still eat healthy?
Our forefathers didn't have that much wealth, but they were eating healthy. So it depends on the individual. You always have to plan your groceries, be on a budget. If possible, grow some of the produces that you use. Also, always cook at home. Eating out is expensive, so you try and cook at home. Cook in bulk, and if possible, if there are leftovers, you use them.
Okay. I think that will help us save some money, and then we can eat healthy. Now let's ask this question also. Our cooking habit. Sometimes we hear that some cooking habits, or there are some ways that we'll cook a particular type of food that will make it unhealthy.
Yeah.
So please educate us on that, the cooking habit and how they affect some kinds of foods.
So cooking is good because cooking helps certain nutrients become readily available to the body. So cooking is good. But when you overdo it, when you overcook certain foods are very sensitive to heat, like the water-soluble vitamins. They can easily leach into water, which reduces the amount of minerals or the amount of good thing you are getting from the food. So you don't need to overcook things. Sometimes the way we handle, raw ingredients, use the same chopping board to cut vegetables and meats, cross-contamination, it can cause problems to the food. Also, the way we store our food or handle our food, putting hot food in plastic containers. There is BPA in the synthetic rubber that can leach into the food, which long-term exposure to this can be a carcinogen or can cause cancers. So we should be mindful about some of these things.
Wow. You see, in our local setting, most of our foods, we put them in these even our banku, when we prepare banku, we put them in there.
I would prefer you to put banku in plantain leaves or banana leaves rather than, now even with the fancy cane case, they put them in the cassava, the plantain leaves, all right, but they wrap them with rubber again and cook it. It's not a good habit. It's not a good habit at all.
And when we are buying them, we often prefer the ones in the rubber.
Yes. You can see school children buying food in rubber, eating, and at the end of the day, consuming some of the rubber. Exposure to some of these things in the long term is not very healthy.
Okay. I think we need to make lots of changes
Exactly.
to how we prepare our food. Now let's ask these. Sometimes there are many things we hear people say in public, or what we call a public opinion,
Yeah.
which we don't really know if they are true or not.
Okay.
So once we have you, we want you to clear them for us.
All right.
We'll just ask you two of them.
Okay.
Does eating gari affect our eyes?
I had to laugh at this question. Okay, so there's this research that cassava has high amount of cyanide, but when we are able to process it well, cook it and process it well, the cassava loses a significant amount of the cyanide, and this cyanide blocks the absorption of vitamin A, which is a nutrient that is very good for the eye. So that is why there is the link between the cassava and the eye. But looking at the gari, it is drained, it is sieved, what heat is being applied to it. So ideally, it loses most of the cyanide. So gari is very healthy, you can take it, but it should be in moderation. It shouldn't be something you eat for breakfast, lunch, supper. You should, diversity is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Now, there is this other public opinion, what we call the public opinion,
Yeah.
that when you eat tiger nut,
Okay.
it boosts sperm production. Is it true?
Something for the men.
Something for the men.
So, tiger nut is one underrated food or tuber, like I call it. It's what we call the earth almond. It is very high in potassium, zinc, and other nutrients that are very important. Zinc and potassium helps in blood regulation or blood flow. And for the men, you need good blood flow to certain areas to be able to perform well. So the zinc and the potassium in the tiger nut is very important. And other researchers in other places like Nigeria indicates that tiger nut improves libido, improves semen or sperm production. And also in some other places, they use tiger nuts to cure or manage erectile dysfunctioning. So tiger nuts is a good food for men when it comes to
I guess what you mean.
Yes.
All right. So I'm sure that just like you mentioned, it has some other important
Yes.
benefits also. Aaron, we've enjoyed the conversation with you.
Sure.
You've taught us a whole lot of things. You've
Okay.
opened our eyes on so many areas. In fact, from now we know that our eating habit is going to change.
Yes,
We are
definitely.
going to improve it.
For the better.
Thanks a lot for joining us on our channel.
Always welcome.
We hope we'll meet you some other time
Sure.
when you educate us more.
All right,
All right,
thank you.